KENPO Africa once more. Topic is when I'm gone. A nightmare situation, MARSHAL. I have been through it. The continent has been through it. When I was a young boy, I would listen to the radio. There were talks of coups. Somebody has overthrown a country there. Another has overthrown a country there. That nightmare surfaced recently. It's not a good nightmare. I'm not saying nightmares are good. They spin you down the roller coaster. And when things have just come, then a nightmare scenario surfaces. I remember when I was still young, we experienced a first attempted coup. As a young man, still a young boy, I could not appreciate the magnitude of the situation. That was the time of the newspapers. And there were harrowing photos. What had happened that time. We went through that. We stabilized up, and many other countries also would have such an experience. Later, by God's grace, we got leaders who were able to stabilize the countries. I'm not saying that you will have leaders who are 100% good, 100% sweet like you want them to be. That is the nature of human beings. Yes, that is the nature of human beings. I think a country like Somalia, before it started stabilizing, because now it's stabilizing, they would also refer to that thing, when I'm gone, a nightmare situation. They marshaled up because of pressure from wherever it was coming, and they have been in the world history for a long time, longest time of stability. Things went changing, and things have been changing. There are times when one feels that one loves his country, and that is how citizens should be. That's how the leaders of the countries should be. They should love their country. I'm referring to this song by Eminem. Sometimes he used to joke, "Enemy is my name," but his real name is Marshall. And when he sang this song, there was a time when I have been through such a situation. That was when you find you are alone in the crowd because things are happening and nobody can appreciate. I think I've talked about that. And there was an attempt psychologically. One is hit psychologically, another one is hit psychologically of the parents, and it appears like we are split. And you find one is being hypnotized, takes you to a certain place, and you are blocking, and it appears like you have a family feud, family fight, and when these things are going on, there are those who are playing it out, waiting for confusion to come so that they can get the prize, sacrifice in your confusion, so that one of the parents will have a situation where a child or children will be able to disappear, and then the blame will be left on you. I was in that situation, and during that time I would listen to this song. If you love somebody that you can literally give an arm for, I have been through that situation. It has been a battle. It's still a battle. I thank God for what He's done. I'm still moving on. I'm still talking. I'm still giving these video talks about situations, about conditions, about things that are happening. Yes, I've talked politics. In fact, to start this KENPO thing, it was a pressure. In the beginning, when I began this thing, after I'd run and I was not able to get to the internet and get to anything, that time there was nothing. Later I got an opportunity of getting to the internet. And my first thing was just to talk about natural things that were happening. That's why the first video I did was to do about saving the environment. It was to do with nature, water as a source of fuel, to something like that. Then as I started producing one by one, those who were getting them even before they could be watched, there was some push, something that was to divert me from whatever I was saying. And the push was talk about what is happening, talk about politics. I couldn't talk about politics. But as that push was going on, and the urge going on, and the scenario was getting terrible, God eventually moved me to talk about KENPO. It was supposed to be about Kenya politics. Having done a bit of martial arts when I was young, I knew during our time there was no KENPO, but I knew there was a martial arts style called KENPO. So as I was thinking, I got into this with that feeling. Can you be able to play some martial arts with the mind to be able to express what was happening around? And that was when I started KENPO session. It was just KENPO with that label of KENPO. KENPO is a martial arts style, by the way, but it matches the name of our country. KENPO is a worldwide martial arts style. Later, as I started talking about that, I realized there was some expression of what was happening within, and it was like I was getting some ideas being given, not mine, about the situation. It moved on in that there were some things that were happening on the ground, and there was this situation that I was being given ideas I had to talk about. I started seeing the situation of what was happening around, and I will talk about it. Terrible situations came. People have moved talking about leaderships, and leaderships have been there. The leaders have ruled us. Some got their countries to where they are through very difficult struggles for the countries to be stable the way they are. Some countries have stayed stable for a long time, but you find that situations arise that appear to be trying to put those countries down the train into a situation that they have never been. Africa is a beautiful continent. Africa is a beautiful country. Africa is a beautiful continent. Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, they are beautiful countries. And one thing that I've come to learn, solution comes from within. The countries are the ones that are able to keep their situation under control. Good leadership will ensure that there is peace within the countries. Yes, there have been situations that make people want to get crazy. I'm talking about this because I was moved when I was asleep. Like, there are situations people who wanted to talk about something, but I'm not talking about it because it was supposed to be targeted towards what they feel is right. I'm not going to talk about what they feel is right. I'm going to talk of what I'm given and what I know is right. We've had situations here in our country. We have had situations that had started emerging in the neighboring country of Uganda, and it was put under control. We're having situations that are appearing in a country like Tanzania. Tanzania, there were no riots. Tanzania has been a country when we are having so many things. It has been a quiet country. A big example to the East African situation. But you know, when you have got beautiful fruits, in Kiswahili they say, mti unaozaa matunda ndio unaolengwa na mawe. Sometimes the fruits don't make everybody happy, and stones will be thrown at you. I am not. Some of the people say I try to be a sycophant when I'm talking, sycophant to the East African presidents, a sycophant to the world situation. I'm not a sycophant. But we can look down at countries that have gone down the drain just because their people were not careful, they did not wake up to the situation. Egypt almost went down, but the people stood up and Egypt is stable. Countries like Syria have had problems, and there are other countries that went down because people were not awake. It is your countries. You can help prop them up, or you can bring them down, and the consequences will affect you. We've seen countries that were once very powerful countries, very stable countries, but because people dozed and were moved aside by attack to their own systems, and they never realized what they were doing, they ended up messing up the country. Some have taken a long time before they recover. So what am I talking about? When you start hearing calls for continuous demonstrations, calls for violence that has not been there, don't look only at the calls. Look around and see what is happening. Is it internal failure of structures? Are the people that are being elected by those people not representing their views? Or is there external interference? People of East Africa, leaders of East Africa, you are shining examples. I won't go after any. But the unity of your countries depend on you. When this song came to me, I thought of the situations I've been through. I've been through a lot. It's only that some things cannot be able to be expressed. And I used to resonate with this song. When things would go hard, I would say, it is me that is their armor. And God, you are my armor. Don't let me go down. Just prop me up for them. And God has done it. God has done it. There were times when you would find there is total confusion within the house. And I knew one thing. Nobody would understand me because everybody saw me as a madman. I knew the situation. We are not. And the other one, things would happen like that. There is that and there is turmoil. And you're working under that condition. But knowing that if you fail, if God lets go of your hand, things will never be the same way that they were. And that time, I knew God was my armor. I love, and I still love the family, in that I can give anything for. And I knew that God was holding me, because there was a situation where there was a communication to that effect. I would now move knowing that there was an assurance God was holding me. Why am I talking about this? This is not to give you my story. This is about the concern of what is happening in our countries. There are incitements of people going on the streets. If people think inwardly, try to find out what is the driving force to you getting to the streets. Is it your problems? Or is it organization from certain individuals, certain quarters? Because if they are organization from certain quarters, will they serve your interest? Leaders of the region, wake up. Sometimes getting back a country to where it was can be very harrowing. I've always been giving people countries that had problems. There was a time I told you when I was young, bodies were floating from Rwanda. They'll be thrown in River Kagera. They would, until there was a time when we were on, people refused to eat just because people could not eat fish. They didn't know if fish were feeding on people. Just because people were caught in a nap. They thought it was for them. It destroyed them. I've always given an example of Uganda. There was a time when things were, and by God's grace, they got to the stability they have. We may have influences from outside. We may have things that appear rosy. But think, is it from you? Can people from these countries be able to use the systems they have, or be able to express themselves? Or is going to the street the only way of solving these things? There was a time when we almost banned parliament. Yeah, recently. These are not secret. Did it bring a solution to us? We've lost people in the so-called demonstrations. We say we organize them well, but I always see a hidden hand in the demonstrations. People of East Africa, people of Africa, think about your countries, because those who are Christians, I know I've talked things about Christianity. I've talked things that have made some Christians go very mad, but they are the truth. I will always stand by the truth. And even in this situation, I'm always standing on the truth. I will stand on the truth, despite the fact of things that I've undergone. I think there are times when God brings a situation that you appear like Hosea and Gomer. By the way, when we talk of Gomer, you know Hosea's wife was Gomer and whatever was happening. God maintained peace in Gomer, Congo. God, what the leaders talked there, be with them. May Africa and East Africa have peace. But the leaders who are there, remember, your country depends on you. Like Marshall sang, he would do everything. He would go out and play to the gallery. Famous. That is, I am not saying that's what he was doing, but that's what he was expressing in the mind. That you neglect your family, you neglect if it's a country, you neglect whatever, and you are there. Like he was going to Sweden, and then he realizes now the daughter who was depending on him is already, how she's gotten to Sweden, he doesn't know. That's when you are being told, Daddy, we have tried, now you are being given to the crowd. The love that they have had is going. The love that you have for your country. Please don't play to the gallery, be real. The love that the citizens have for their country. Because once a country is spoiled, once a country goes down the drain, it's very difficult to put it back. And sometimes, even when it's put back, it takes a long time before it gets back to where it was before you can start proceeding. Beautiful country, Tanzania. These people, I cannot talk about your politics. The people of Tanzania, sometimes things come from elsewhere. They may catch you off guard. Be awake, people of Kenya. Be awake, people of Uganda. Be awake, people of Rwanda. Be awake, people of Sudan. Be awake, people of Somalia. Be awake, people of Congo. Be awake. You are the ones who can build or break down your country. When your leaderships your leaders are giving you a stable environment, please assist them. Because when the country goes down, it's not them who go down, it is everyone in that country. There is a saying in the Bible that you should always pray for the peace, progress and prosperity of your country. Because out of that, if there's no peace and there's no prosperity in the country, it affects everybody. East Africa is a stable place. As we do our things, as we hear calls to do things, as we get criticisms about the leaderships, let's look inwardly and ask ourselves, do those criticisms resonate with what is in my heart, with what is in my mind, or am I playing to the gallery? That is what I will ask the people of East Africa to do. Idea was, I talk about Tanzania, I talk about all this, but the question is, are these demonstrations Tanzanian? Ask yourselves, if they are, will they bring solutions? And how come suddenly a president who has been interacting so well with the people suddenly is not seen as a good president anymore? There are questions that you should ask yourself. When you pull your house, the Bible says it was referring to women, but women does not mean that it's a woman who builds a house. It's everybody in the country who builds the house. And the Bible used a term as an unwise woman. They use some verses you would use stupid, would pull her own house down with her own hands. Please don't be used to pull down your own countries with your own hands. If there are complaints, there are systems. You have got representatives. Send them to where it's necessary, they'll be heard. But nothing has ever come. Even South Africa, they went to the... We were watching movies about Sarafina and whatever. They went to the streets. We have seen Sarafina. We saw the effect. It was only when things went the other way, Mandela was in and everything, and things went through the right channels of struggle. I'm not saying that you should not, when there's injustices, you should be quiet. But are we following the right formula? Or are we like the unwise woman in the Bible, actually pulling down our own houses in the name of improvement? When it rains, when the roof is not there, the grass, in Africa we used to make thatched houses. I think they are rare. But to those who have seen them or have the idea, this grass is packed in such a way that even when it rains, no water can get in. And when the heat is there, it controls the temperature. You don't even need a fan. When it's very hot outside, it's cool inside. And when it's cold, it's warm inside. But once you pull down that grass, when it rains, it will rain on you. When it's cold, you will feel the cold. People of Africa, this is a fumo kick, sideway kick, to our minds. Are we the ones who want to really do this? Or is there a force that is pushing us to do this and say this? Because once we pull down our own houses with our own hands, it takes a while. Sometimes people never recover. Let's thank God for what we have and look at ways of improving it rather than get the ideas that pulling down what is there is what is going to bring solutions. I'm not for the presidents, but I am for reason. Do the streets give these things? We had set fire to our parliaments. It never brought solutions. But talks have brought solutions to a certain extent. Let's learn from each other. Demonstrations in the streets, violence doesn't bring an answer. If you are a country that has got representatives, you've got members of parliament, you've got, lobby them to go and put your ideas in the right place. When you hear people telling you your mother is bad, think twice. She gave birth to you. That is your country. Those are your countries. They gave birth to you. You elected your leaders. When I come and tell you your mother is not good, think twice. She circled you. Before you bring down your countries, think twice. Let it not be a situation, a nightmare situation like the one that we have in this one. But fortunately, when he's finishing, he's waking up. So we have not gone that way. We are not gone yet. Wake up. Realize that life can still go on. There are solutions. You have solutions. You have alternatives. Nothing is written in the streets. It has never been written. I don't know if it will be written. But think of the right channels of pushing your issues across. I'm not saying there are no issues in those countries. There's no country that lacks issues, by the way. All countries around the world. But what is the reasonable way of going about it? Wake up Kenya, wake up Tanzania, wake up Uganda, wake up Rwanda, wake up Burundi, wake up the rest of Africa. God has blessed us with peace. God would not want us to go the rough way. Before we do something, let's think about the consequences. Listen to reason, the way Chico-san. That is my take for now. I'll say no more.